Union Station. Please wear a mask or face covering when riding the TTC.
Hey guys, it is Saturday, November 14th. The time is 1:22 p.m. and the temperature is 7 degrees Celsius. That was the 510 Spadina streetcar. I just got off here at the intersection of Spadina Avenue and College Street. And this is the north end of Chinatown. It looks safe to cross here. So the plan for this one is just to head south down to Dundas Street West, and then I'll walk east over to Dundas Square and explore that area for a bit. It's worth noting that today the City of Toronto moved into what the province calls the red zone. So what that means is there are increased coronavirus restrictions for at least the next 28 days. And under the guidelines set forth for the red zone, indoor dining is allowed, but the City of Toronto has taken the extra measure to not allow it for at least the next 28 days, which is contrary to what was announced just a few weeks ago. It was stated that restaurants, bars, and cafes would be allowed to return to having dine-in customers as of November 14th, but due to an increase in virus cases in the province and the City of Toronto, they've backpedaled on that. And I know that that's been a great source of frustration for a lot of small business owners. In this area of Chinatown, which relies so heavily on restaurants that mostly don't have outdoor patios or outdoor dining, is particularly hard hit by these new restrictions. And it's very likely a lot of these restaurants had put in food orders in anticipation of being able to open back up and started making plans to get their staff back to work. So this has definitely been a kick in the junk, so to speak, to a lot of small business owners. Although it's worth noting that in the province of Ontario, Toronto isn't the only municipality in the red zone. I believe Hamilton is also in the red zone, as are the regions of Halton, Peel, and York, which are part of the Greater Toronto, or Greater Toronto area. And this here is Baldwin Street, and that would lead you into Kensington Market. There's actually 5 levels of public health measures in the province of Ontario. There's green, yellow, orange, red, and gray, which is pretty much a full lockdown. So hopefully it doesn't come to that, but yesterday the province of Ontario reported 396 new cases, and 440 of which were in the city of Toronto. I'll zoom in on the financial district skyline, and this is St. Andrew Street. So you could take that into Kensington Market as well. And as part of these new restrictions, gatherings in the city of Toronto are confined to 10 people indoors, 25 people outdoors, and gyms are allowed to open. In fact, the Good Life Fitness at the Yonge Eglinton Centre was open as I walked by. But it's my understanding that they too are limited to just 10 people. Things like religious services, weddings, and funerals are limited to 30% capacity indoors and 100 people outdoors. And schools remain open. So there's definitely some contradictions in the approach taken by the province in implementing these new measures. There's also been no consideration taken place in terms of the size of the buildings, just limiting, say, a gym to 10 people, with no regards to how big it is, although I guess if you get too granular, it becomes extremely difficult to sort of enforce and implement that sort of thing. And there seems to be something going on down here at the intersection of Dundas and Spadina. This is the main intersection. Here in the main Chinatown.
凡不因我跌倒的，就有福了。阿门，哈利路亚。耶稣论施洗约翰，他们走的时候，耶稣就对众人讲论约翰说：“你们从前出到旷野是要看什么呢？这是风吹动的芦苇吗？你们出去到底是要看什么？”
It is Saturday afternoon, which tends to be when the anti-mask and anti-lockdown protests take place. I was going to head east along Dundas. I'm just a bit curious as to what's going on here. Looks to be a anti-ccp virus or anti-ccp protest. I read CCP virus off of one of those banners there. And it actually looks like there might be some kind of protest or march just up ahead. Perhaps I'll be able to catch up to them. I'm now walking east along Dundas Street West. Seems to be a large number of people in yellow outfits with a police car at the tail end. Let's see if we can track this down. This here would be Huron Street. The province is stating that people in the red zone should stay home and only go out for essential purposes, but I don't think there's any chance of that happening. And the fact that retail stores are allowed to open is certainly going to work against that request. I think the approach to handling this virus is riddled with all sorts of contradictions. But I'm no expert, and I don't really know what the answer would be. People often ask me in the live streams what my opinions are on this entire situation, and I don't think they're any more or less valuable than anyone else's. All right, we seem to be catching up to the commotion just up ahead here. I wonder if this is in any relation to the protest I walked by in Chinatown just a few minutes ago. This is Beverly Street and the Art Gallery of Ontario on the right. The world needs truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Kind of interesting and not something I was aware of at all when I set out to record this walk. Just seems to be lining up with the chosen route kind of perfectly. Doesn't seem to have drawn much of an audience, at least not in this part. McCall Street. Well, it looks like this march goes on for quite a while. Perhaps I'll see if I'll be able to get in front of this entire protest march. It's certainly peaceful, and it seems to be only occupying the eastbound lanes. And for what it's worth, everyone in the protest seems to be reasonably well distanced and wearing a mask.
But I want you guys to publicly defend the Uyghurs.
There's a gentleman there having a conversation about the treatment of the Uyghurs. There's certainly a lot of very sensitive topics to be discussed, I guess. But I don't really fancy this channel as the forum for that, so we'll just kind of take this all in from the perspective of a fly on the wall. This is certainly a very large protest, though. There's a look south down University Avenue. It looks like I'm going to get stuck in the middle of this two-phase crossing here. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted for this, what I would assume to be traditional Chinese music we're listening to. Here I am saying I'm getting stuck in the middle of the intersection, yet there's a parade marching through. So this is the Little Tokyo neighborhood. I don't know how well my microphone picks this up, but that is an obnoxiously low quality speaker we are listening to. If I were to have planned recording this protest, I probably would have gone in the opposite direction and walked towards it.
Beauty of Falun Gong may be right for you.
those police are wondering what the heck they're supposed to do about that. Sorry. This thing might span all the way to Dundas Square. Given that mainland China is pretty much a surveillance state, you'd have to wonder if any of these people are holding a Chinese passport. I would hazard to guess that they're mostly Canadians. There's probably many people here of Taiwanese and Hong Kong descent. I might be wrong. This is one of the benefits, of course, in living in a free and open society. You do have the right to peacefully protest. I'm not sure if a global pandemic is the best time to do it, though, but so be it. They have the right. And this is Bay and Dundas, and those cars are going to be waiting for quite a while. In fact, you almost have to wonder why they just wouldn't U-turn. There's a honk out of frustration. And that would be a lineup to get into Canadian Tire. This is all part of the Eaton Center here on the right. Wow, they even have a marching band as part of this thing. That's kind of neat. This restaurant on the right is Joey. They have a rather large outdoor patio. So restaurants can stay open for outdoor service, although having been to a few, I can attest that those large expensive heat lamps don't do a whole lot. I imagine as we get further into the winter, although I guess it's still fall right now, but my point stands, as time goes on and it gets colder and colder, eating outside will be less and less appealing. And here we are at the intersection of Yonge and Dundas. That guy's got a pretty serious camera and gimbal setup. our favorite singing man. And I have stumbled into a COVID anti-mask protest. Here's another protest going on. This is certainly an interesting place to be in the city right now. All right, I'm going to take a break from this protest action and just walk south down Victoria Street up ahead, and I'll come back over on Shooter. First, let's take a quick look around the square from this is quite the spectacle. This was just supposed to be a simple walk through Toronto, and I run into Protest Central. That's a look east down Dundas Street. That would be Dundas Street East. And this is south on Victoria Street. That's the Jazz Bistro and the Senator, which is rather well known. And the backside of the Ed Mirvish Theater. And I'm kind of wondering if I should fire up a live stream right now. I have my gear with me. Although I kind of fear for what the chat might turn into. And it's the Shooter Street location of Fran's Diner, located in the base of the Pantages condominium, named after the Pantages Theater, I assume. There's a look at St. Mike's Hospital. I've been to that Emerge before when I broke my finger. They had me x-rayed and in a splint very swiftly with an appointment with an orthopedist or orthopedic specialist. It was all a rather good experience. Certainly not the nightmare story that people try to make you believe of the Canadian healthcare system. Looks like this Tangerine location might be Dunzo. Okay, here we are at Shooter and Yonge, just across from the Eaton Center. Maybe I'll just walk back up to Dundas Square on the other side. A few weeks ago, the anti-lockdown protest sort of took front and center stage, and there was a small anti-ccp protest on the side, but it seems to have flipped around the other way, as this is clearly the much bigger event of the two. Although I didn't hear about this. It got very little mention on Reddit, at least. I didn't see it mentioned there. I usually pop into the Toronto subreddit every day just to see what's going on. That's usually the best place to sort of stay on top of current events in the city. Perhaps there was a thread on this and I just missed it. Now we're back to the anti-lockdown folks, where protests collide here at Yonge and Dundas. Can't think of a more appropriate note to end this video on. And our favorite local street singer. That's not very nice. It's not the kind of language we like. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this very different walk that started off through Chinatown and ran into multiple protests. There are links to my Instagram and Patreon in the description if you're interested. Looks like the police officer there is taking issue with the lady in this vehicle. She said she was filming with a baby in her lap. That can't be good, at least not if she was operating the vehicle. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.